What's happening, guys? My name is Anthony, and in today's video we're going to be doing another My Team episode, and we're going to be at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix this time. And going into it, my goal was to beat Alfa Romeo at least, because on paper you can see that we've got some of the upgrades that were supposedly coming through. We would have been on paper better than them, and our engine is the best part of the car, so I was hoping to at least try and beat them. That was the aim for this race, and you can see we're just sorting out some of the activities. Sadly, some of the upgrades that we went for, they didn't come through, so we have to redo them, but hopefully that they should come through for the next race. I believe they have a 0% chance of failure the second time round, so we'll guarantee get them, and hopefully we can get some of the future upgrades as well. We also got another sponsorship that we can actually choose as well, so we went with Polar because I believe all we had to do was complete 10 laps over the race weekend, so it was easy money essentially because you could do that in practice. But moving straight on to qualifying now, you can see it's actually wet conditions, it's inters, and the first lap we did was horrendous. I'm generally surprised that we didn't just destroy the car on that first lap. We were half spinning everywhere, and you know, turn 8 obviously being very difficult in the dry conditions, and in wet conditions it was even worse. But either way, we're on our second lap and we're about 6-7 tenths up coming off of the third corner. Got a little bit wide there, and on the final corner we ended up losing a bunch of time, I believe like half a second. So we could have gone a lot quicker. We end up being in 21st for now. But moving on to the final lap, it was dry for the final lap, and we went out as late as we possibly could just to try and get the most out of the track essentially. And luckily it worked for us. So let's take a quick overview of this lap. The first corner, taking it pretty well, using all the track. For the second corner, braking just after the 100 meter board in this car, and we don't really get the best exit because we did hit the curb on the entry there, which you don't want to do on this year's game. I don't even think he wanted to do it on the last year game either actually. But turn 3, braking just before the 100 meter board, got a little bit wide, have a little bit of a tap on the barrier, but we didn't end up getting wing damage from that luckily, and we just got a little bit wide there. We just washed out a bit with the understeer, so we lost a little bit of time there. But here, yeah, it wasn't very good. It's the understeer of the car, it's just still not really gotten used to it. And the setup that I was using was just a time trial setup for this one, and I was using quite a lot of front wing. I think I was using 9 on the front wing, so yeah, it's quite high, especially for a track like this. But it was needed, especially with just how understeery the car was. The rest of the setup just wasn't really able to bring the turn in that I really needed for this car. But either way, now we're having a pretty decent lap, and that's mainly because we are the last car, I believe, on track. So we're basically getting all the track evolution here, and it's really paying off. As we come off the final braking zone, we go a little bit wide, and I was nervous there because we are using strict corner cutting, and I thought that was actually going to get an invalidation there, but luckily the F1 gods were on my side this time, and they didn't give us the invalidation. But as we open up DRS, as we come up to the line now, I believe we do, I think it's like a 1 minute 39 something or 1 minute 40 something, and we are actually in P7. So this is our opportunity to get huge amount of points for our team and actually get up there in the standings. So what I'm going to do is leave you guys for the race intro, and then we'll get into the race.
Welcome to Baku. This was the arena, if you think back to 2017, of one of the most eventful races of modern history, with controversy behind the safety car, last-second overtakes, and a historic podium for Williams and for Lance Stroll. So let's find out what lies in store for us this year. It's time for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. With 20 turns and a length of 3.7 miles, Baku City Circuit in the heart of the Azerbaijan capital is a real test of a driver's endurance, patience and precision. 90-degree corners through Sector 1 lead into a tightening uphill sprint as we start to circle around the old city. Then a 1.4-mile chase flat out through Sector 3 towards the finish line. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Verstappen, Lando Norris, Anthony, Tsunoda, Stroll, Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel, Raikkonen, Ocon, Fernando Alonso and Giovinazzi, Gasly, Russell, Daniel Ricciardo and Nikita Mazepin. Sainz, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Latifi, Mick Schumacher and Robert Schwartzman. Now, it's almost time for lights out So let's go down to the track.
So moving on to the race now, we've got 3, 4, 5 red lights. And lights out and away we go. And for this one, I really just wanted to try and stick within the DRS of just any car that's in front of me, because I knew that if you have DRS, especially on that final straight, then pretty much track position is the most important thing after that. So as you can see now, we've got Stroll. We just squeeze him out wide going into turn 3, just so that we could try and get the best exit that we possibly could. I wanted to actually at least try and keep some of the positions, as straight away you can see we don't have a lot of straight line speed. In fact, we don't have any straight line speed compared to any of the cars around us, and I was generally surprised by this because I thought that our engine was actually pretty decent, especially since it's supposedly on paper the best part of our car. So if our engine is as bad as it already looking on lap 1, then yeah, the rest of the car really doesn't have any hope of being any good anytime soon. But either way, now we're going through turn 8, and I was very nervous going through there the entire time just because of the amount of understeer I was getting. I was actually surprised I didn't get a warning here either, so it definitely seems that on this year's game the strict corner cutting is a little bit more lenient than it is on F1 2020. On F1 2020 that would have definitely been at least a warning, so we got lucky there, and we just move on. And as I said, the game plan was to just try and stick in the DRS of any car that was in front of us, but as you can see, it's only been a lap and we've already gone outside of the DRS of Lando NORRIS, who I believe started behind us. So that's just crazy to me, just how little straight line speed we had. And this race, honestly, it was very painful. You're going to see it as we move on through the laps, and you can already see that we've got a ton of cars breathing down our necks, and there's just nothing we're going to be able to do, especially once DRS comes into the equation. But yeah, we go 3 wide going into turn 1, and going into turn 2, I was turning just as I normally would, but Charles Leclerc, he actually dives down the inside, and by the time I realized it was already way too late, I had already taken that corner, as it was mine in the first place. And yeah, he ends up going into the side of us, and he ends up spinning. I'll probably show you guys another replay of that from another angle, but yeah, that was always my corner. Obviously, you don't go too wide going into turn 2 at Azerbaijan, everyone knows that. So that was all on Charles Leclerc in my opinion, but maybe you guys think differently. If you do, let me know in the comment section down below. But you can see, look at that, that's just ridiculous, right guys? The amount of straight line speed we had was just non-existent. As you can see, Lance Stroll getting past us, and then the next lap his teammate Sebastian Vettel also tries to go for the move as well on the start finish on line straight, but I wanted to see if I could try and stay at least ahead of him. I wanted to stay with between Aston Martin cars, especially since Sebastian Vettel, he was on the medium compounded tyre, and at this point that is still technically the slower tyre. I know that the softs don't last too long on a track like Azerbaijan, but at this moment of time it's still the quicker tyre compared to the mediums. So we did manage to stay in front of him for one more lap, but yeah, there was nothing we were going to be able to do here. As you can see, even with DRS on Lance Stroll, who's just went into the pits, we still got overtaken by Sebastian Vettel. But either way, now is hammer time essentially for us. We need to try and do as best as we can on this in-lap, so that we don't lose out on too many positions, especially since you can see just how slow we are on the straights. And by the time we get to the end of this lap now, I believe we're just inside of the DRS zone of Vettel, are we? No, we're actually just outside of it, and we've got Ocon breathing down our necks as well. And we're planning on going into the pits. I don't know if Ocon was going to go in. Luckily he doesn't. If he did, that probably wouldn't have ended too good. As we go into the pits, it's not really been the best of stints. I believe we started in P6 and we were already down to P8, I think, by the time that we ended up pitting or something like that. Not 100% sure. So yeah, as we come out of the pits now, we are in P15. We're way behind Lando Norris, and I believe we actually came out ahead of Giovinazzi, but he also passed us as well on this out lap, and he's already almost 2 seconds down the road. So yeah, as I said, our engine is supposed to be the best part of our car. That's how painful this race was. Our sector 2 was even worse. We were losing so much time each and every lap. I believe by the end of this, you guys will see, I believe the fastest lap compared to our fastest lap was about 3-4 seconds. So we were losing a lot of time even to the midfield cars, and it came really unexpected to me, to be honest, because I was expecting us to be battling towards the Alfa Romeo side of things, and we did have that good quality because we maximized just the amount of track evolution that was happening, since obviously it was getting drier and drier as time went on. But even then, I still wasn't expecting our car to be that slow during the race. But either way, we've got Yuki Tsunoda ahead of us now. Giovinazzi overtook him in a really awkward area. I'm surprised he actually managed to do that, actually. And then moving on to lap 12 now, you can see we've got the other Alfa Romeo of Kimi Räikkönen, who is just about to overtake us. Again, no straight line speed. He's got DRS as well. He gets past us even before we get to the start finishing line straight. And by the time we get to turn 1, yeah, there's no chance we could brake later than him and try and regain that position. But I thought as long as we can maybe stay next to him, then we should be at least decent until sector 2. But moving on to lap 16 now, you can see that Charles Leclerc, he also got past us as well. And you may notice that Lance Stroll is coming out of the pits, and that is his second pit stop, which means after the first pit stop he had gained an entire pit stop worth of a gap ahead of us, and that's how much time we were losing compared to everyone around us. And you can see now that Daniel Ricciardo, he also gets past us, and I believe he started towards the back. I may be wrong, but either way, you've got Charles Leclerc and you've got Esteban Ocon going through whatever the hell happened with him on lap 17 going into turn 15. And yeah, that was our opportunity to at least try and get a decent gap on them. But sadly, Esteban Ocon did get the jump on us. I do believe that Charles Leclerc ended up with a little bit of damage, because you can see he's still behind us as we are battling with both him and his teammate Carlos Sainz. We're just about to go 3 wide once again going into turn 1, and last time we went 3 wide going into turn 1, Charles Leclerc ended up spinning because he dived down the inside of our car. So I was hoping that Carlos Sainz didn't replicate that, and luckily he didn't. And then moving all the way on to lap 25 now, we're on the end of sector 2, and we end up getting our second warning of the race. So this last lap we had to try and be quite careful, but we're in P15 now, which again, it just shows how bad this race is and how slow our car is. We started in P6, guys. This was so painful for me, but either way, I wanted to try and finish as high as I possibly could. So you can see now that Alonso and I believe that's George Russell in the Williams as well, they both get past us with the DRS. However, they end up battling, and I thought that I could maybe try and gain something from this. Didn't have the best exit off of turn 1. Either way, I thought, okay, we still got the DRS here, we could still try and make something happen. We don't have a lot of ERS to play with, but we do have slipstream, so that might help us a little bit. And as you can see, combined with the DRS, the slipstream really gives us a solid one here. And as we're going to turn 3, we're on the inside, so we're definitely going to get the better run through that corner. And now we just have to try and defend through sector 2, because sector 3 is going to be the part that matters the most. And as you guys can see, Lewis Hamilton, he's already won this race. I believe he dominated this race actually as well, so he continues his reign at the top of the championship. Unlike real life, it's not as close between him and Max Verstappen. I believe Valtteri Bottas is actually sitting in second place for the championship, and Lewis has probably gained a good amount of points during this race on him. But we just want to try and salvage something from this race, even if it is just P15. We started towards the front of the grid, however, just due to our car being so slow, not only through the corners but apparently in terms of straight line speed as well, it just wasn't a fun race for us. And yeah, we're definitely going to have to work on the car a lot going into these next couple of races and really try and gain some straight line speed, and obviously gain some downforce as well, so that we can get some decent corner speed as well. As we come off of the final corner now, well, the actual final braking zone I should say, it's technically not the final corner, trying to use all the ERS that I can now, because I want to beat these two, but I know that the car's so slow that there's still technically a chance that they could pass us. But luckily I checked the side there and I see that they were getting further and further, so we are going to finish this race in P15.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Another Azerbaijan Grand Prix, a fascinating race and a well-deserved victory. Ant, talk to me. What do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today.
So Lewis Hamilton ends up winning this race with Valtteri Bottas in second place with the fastest lap as well, so not as much points lost as I thought. And then we've got Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, Lando Norris, Vettel, Tsunoda, Stroll, Ricciardo and Gasly rounding off the top 10. And then after that we've got Ocon, Charles Leclerc, Kimi Raikkonen, Carlos Sainz, ourselves in arguably our most painful race ever. And then we've got Alonso, Russell, Giovinazzi, Mazepin, Schumacher, Robert Schwartzman, which shows just the car just wasn't that good today. And then Nicholas Latifi ended up coming in last place. So moving on to the standings now, Lewis Hamilton is now 17 points ahead of Valtteri Bottas with Sergio Perez just behind him. Midfield seem to be quite close as well, and then we ourselves are sitting in P18 at the moment, and then as a team we're still with 0 points sitting in P10, but hopefully as we develop the car we can gain more and more positions. Well, as we look at some of the upgrades to further improve the car, I hope that you guys enjoyed those 26 laps of pain and suffering that I had to go to. If you did, make sure to leave a like for some sympathy, and make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see any more My Team content in the near future and you're not already subscribed. And I hope to catch you guys soon in my next video.